What's up, everybody? Welcome back. The Hoops Rehab Show is back. How you doing, Emac?
We back. I'm doing good, man. It was definitely a not a nice couple weeks not doing the show, but nice couple weeks just of a little bit of a vacay for both of us and kind of getting our minds right and definitely, looking back to get into the swing of things. How are things with you?
Yeah, same, man. We had a little summer break, had a little vacay, but now we are back with our content and our regular scheduled shows. But yeah, it was a good time with the family, and we had to take a little break. And I would say July is usually the best time to do it.
Yeah, a little bit of a reset, right? Doesn't hurt. But yeah, July is kind of dog days of summer in terms of from the basketball and football hint perspective, and more on that later. But yeah, I think it's a good month to do that. And so we obviously missed a couple things and look forward to chopping it up and talking about it today.
Yep. As always, everybody, I am the game injury doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries, one of your hosts here at the Hoops Rehab Show. And on my right is Eric B. Mack. You can find us at our handles at Game Injury Doc and at Eric B. Mack on all social media platforms. You can also find the Hoops Rehab Show on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button to get our latest content, our live shows, and other videos that we post on there. And then, as always, we will always update the pod the next morning, and we'll have that updated for you, so you can find that at the Hoops Rehab Show, however you get your pods. But Eric, let's get it cracking, man. We had a big announcement yesterday. What was that, sir?
So it was the very first day that Luka could sign the extension, right?
Yes.
Basically.
August 2nd, right? Yeah, that was the first day.
Yeah. But I think that's because of when he signed his last contract or something like that. I believe that's how they do it. And so, yeah, he announced it himself, and looks like he's going to be a Laker. Not a huge surprise, but we weren't sure exactly what was going to happen, the years, the terms. And so we know that we have Luka at least locked up for the next 3 seasons, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that he signed the day that he was eligible to sign is a pretty good fill-in for Laker fans and just the NBA in general, right? Because now you know that a superstar is going to be in LA. Like always, the Lakers always get their superstar. And the fact that he committed to a 3-year deal, obviously has an option on the last year, but that means he's 3 years guaranteed in Lakers uniform, right? And that will get him to his 10th season, which will likely cause him to opt out for the mega super max deal, which he could get. What was the exact figure there, Eric?
Wow, 5 years, $417 million, which is going to be the option in 3 years for Luka.
80+ million a year. Right, but that will be the going rate at that time, right? So yeah, all these extensions that have been signed and players making 70+ million, it's going to go to 80, and who knows? Maybe you'll have $100 million a year player in the foreseeable future. But it was great to see Luka sign on dotted paper and just be ready to commit to the purple and gold. And I liked how he went into his press conference and talked about he's ready to win now. He's not waiting for a rebuild. He's not waiting for anything like that. He's ready to win right now.
Yeah. And just before that, speaking of the contract, just in comparison, I was just thinking about it. And I don't even know if we've talked about it on the show or not, but when Shaq signed with the Lakers in 1996, it was a 7-year, $120 million contract. And that was like definitely the biggest contract in terms of years and dollar amount at the time. And so I don't know. I mean, are things all relative, I guess? I mean, it's gone up about 4 times that, maybe, if not more, because of the years, but I don't know. Just thought that's where we've come now. So now we're going to get into the Was it 5 years, 400 and something million? But that's just a side note. But yeah, man, it's we know, which we're going to get into in a little bit with LeBron, but we knew that there's a lot of, could potentially have been a lot of question marks going into next season. Hell, if Luka could have easily been like, you know what, I'm going to play one more year in LA because that's what my contract says, and I'm going to test free agency next year, and I may stay with the Lakers, but I'm going to see what else is out there. And so that could have been a possibility. And so him, as you mentioned, signing so quickly, it was obviously already planned, and so that is a good sign because we know that he wants to be here. He didn't want to flirt with anything and let time pass, and he did have other options too, right? It could have been a 1-and-1, so he could have signed like another year and an opt out. There could have been a little bit longer of a term, about 4 to 5 years, but that wouldn't have made sense for him economically. And so I think it's great to wrap this up now. I keep hearing about 2027, and that's still 2 years away. So I think we gotta worry about a little bit, maybe those first 2 of the 3 years that he's with us. But yeah, but super excited, obviously, to have him, and let's see what team we roll out there.
Yeah, I think the early indications that he was going to sign this extension was that the fact that he was recruiting for the Lakers, right? He recruited Ayton. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Marcus Smart signing. Bravo, because I thought that was a great signing.
Like it.
And that was personally Luka recruiting these players, right? Marcus Smart talked about it. He talked about how Luka really wanted him to play there. So I think that was positive. And just the fact that, to be honest, you almost get Luka for a bargain. I mean, you're only going to be paying him $50+ million a year for the next 3 years, which is for the going rate of superstar players. That's nothing. That's cheap.
Oh yeah, it's that it's like interesting to think that it's like a discount in a way, but in reality, it's going to give the Lakers opportunity to have like a max contract, even if they do extend AR, Austin Reeves, which is obviously looming to next season. To all accounts, even if they re-sign him to a larger deal, they're still going to have like a max spot. Obviously, we'll see what happens with that's assuming in a couple of years LeBron will be gone and things like that. But yeah, so that was telling for sure. Him doing all that recruiting, Marcus Smart. I mean, it's something we kind of like. I don't know about on the show, but you and I have we kind of talked about it. That'd be someone of interest now that you figure Washington is going to be doing probably having some buyouts, right? Just because of kind of what they're doing over there with the youth movement. But I really didn't think that he'd be coming to the Lakers, and so that was a surprise. And so, yeah, man, it's I think it's all good things coming here, and hopefully it'll amount to a real competitive season coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Smart to me was, we've talked about him as a player and just getting a defensive player like him. Maybe the only concerns over the last year or two are just kind of the health concern. He's had some injuries and just hasn't been himself in that way. But you're not asking for him to be the main star, your starting point guard or anything like that on this team. You're asking him to come in and be your sixth man. And I think he can fill that role easily. And also when you need him in the fourth quarter and some crunch time, he can be in that lineup with Luka and LeBron and AR to kind of guard some of those players that you need to guard down the stretch. So I think it's a very positive move. I think it's going to mesh well with Ayton and having a pick and pop guy and a guy that can roll to the basket. So I like the move so far. What are your thoughts on what they need to do kind of moving forward to really contend the way Luka and I would assume LeBron want to?
Well, on the Marcus Smart front, it's kind of funny because in 2014, the Lakers had the 7th pick and Boston had the 6th pick, and it was rumored that Lakers were going to draft Marcus Smart, and Boston ended up taking him, and the Lakers drafted, Julius Randle. So it's funny after all these years.
You knew who I wanted in that draft. I mean, this goes back to like what we always talked about. I always wanted Marcus Smart coming out of that draft.
Yeah.
But obviously we're getting him at a later time. So
yeah. So I guess better late than never. But yeah, look, we're not saying he's gonna, win the 3-point contest and the All-Star break or anything like that. But he's just one of these guys that from afar, and I get it. It's been a couple of seasons of really not hearing much about him. And that happens when you're on bad teams, he was on a Memphis team that season they were not really good. They had a lot of injuries, spent a lot of time with Washington last year. So I wouldn't really count those 2 years against him, other than of course he's getting older. So I think, but from his time from Boston, he just was kind of one of these guys that was an opportunist, and he'd hit like a big shot. And like you mentioned earlier about putting him in the end of the game, getting a big stop, hitting a big three if he's wide open. Right. And so I see that being a positive. And so you asked, what else that needs to be done. And I think the Lakers shored up their big man spot. Right. Can never get, enough depth there, but I think what is needed still, and it's going to probably have to come via trade, but some kind of wing, 3-and-D kind of depth. I don't think that's like a big surprise. I mean, that's still something that can really be used. I don't know if Marcus Smart just totally fills in for DFS, but he's obviously going to kind of play that role. But I think they can use a little bit of more athleticism out there with someone that has some range,
Yeah, that's for sure. I think this lineup is shaping out to be pretty solid right now at this point. Yeah. I'm just wondering if they need to just make one of those subtle trades, right? Yep. Whether it's, I love the way Rui kind of fits this team. He's been great at the corner three. He's been great as a Laker, right? But is there a trade out there that you include him, a Vando, or somebody like that, and you get back like Andrew Wiggins or a 3-and-D type of player like that, that could be in your starting lineup? So I think there's still some options out there that could be possible. But if you told me that they have to roll with this lineup that they got right now, I still think this is a top 4 to 5 seed in the West, with the amount of teams that are still there.
Yeah. And it could be something on the margins, kind of like what you mentioned. It could be something a little bit bigger. I mean, it's not going to be huge, but Wiggins could probably be like maybe one of the bigger names out there. And so I think we'll see, right? I mean, sometimes when you don't hear news is when something usually happens. And then when you hear something, it just never pans out. And so it could be something that Lakers go through the first half of the season into the trade deadline. It just could be one of those things, because they still have like those first round picks, or at least that one where they probably would only move on it if it's like really going to make a difference for the next year or two. And so we know what needs to be done, most likely to kind of get to that next top level, but it's up for Rob and the crew to kind of get creative on how they're going to get that without having to trade so much. And sorry, that's the beautiful thing about getting Ayton and Marcus Smart is, I mean, they didn't lose any assets at all for either.
Yeah, when you think about the Ayton signing, I think they couldn't get any luckier than what they got with that, because we were talking about probably trading for like a Walker Kessler, right? And then that's going to take a first round pick, probably like a Rui and like a Don't Connect or something like that. It's going to take somebody to get a player like that. So I think being able to get him just as a free agent was huge. And then obviously Marcus Smart too, right? Both those are prime free agents that you never thought you would have, because they weren't free agents going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lakers are one of those, maybe 5 organizations that, fortunately for those 5 or 6, they are the first ones that always get the buyout market, players, right? And so those teams that are a little bit lesser, not as maybe attractive cities and whatnot, like they don't kind of get that. And so when you are a Lakers front office, you can afford to be a little patient at times, because when you start to see things like buyouts that could potentially like be on the horizon, it's like, man, why, like you just said, why trade Rui and Dalton Connect and a first rounder for someone where we can just get Ayton for, I mean, not free, but practically that, because part of the buyout market. So definitely two guys that if you told me in January that the Lakers come August are going to have Luka Doncic, Ayton, and Smart, I think we take that any day, right?
Oh, for sure. And I think as, Laker fans and everything like that, having a 26-year-old superstar as your top player right now is huge, right? Because like there was times where no matter what, LeBron is a mega superstar, right? But there were certain times where it's like, oh man, I wish LeBron would recruit this player or get this player, or we'd miss out on a lot of signings because not that everybody doesn't want to play with LeBron, but there's a shadow that people will have issues with being just around LeBron James, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's refreshing to have a younger guy like 26 years old that everybody so far loves to play with, right? And you're able to get those guys. Like he recruited 2 guys and he got them, right?
Yep.
So I mean, instantly. So I think that is key, kind of moving forward, at least on the free agent standpoint, because going into this season, however it goes, hopefully the Lakers win the championship. But no matter what, going into next season when they're trying to recruit for more NBA players and off seasons, you got Luka as your head guy, and you have him for the next 3 years. And hopefully
Absolutely.
for the next 5 after that, right? So I think this is a great pairing for the league and obviously a great pairing for the Lakers.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. That's the best thing you could see is your mid-20s superstar really being committed to the team, wanting to get better, recruiting players. I think when LeBron got here, I'm pretty sure, I mean, you and I definitely didn't think he'd be coming into year 8 on the Lakers. I was thinking maybe 4 years. I think he, so to speak, like retired that like recruiting hat, if you will. I think he came to the Lakers and he was like, players are just going to come. And so obviously AD, in a sense, maybe he recruited him. We don't know what happens behind closed doors, of course, but it wasn't like as active or as out there as Luka has been. And so it is definitely refreshing for sure. And that's kind of what Lakers have done through their historic, years, is just get that franchise guy and kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before we move into the next topic, we got to cover Slim Luka and him getting the cover of Men's Health magazine. But obviously, we knew that this was a big offseason, and we knew that he had to get in better shape. JJ Redick said it. I think Luka would have said it himself. Obviously, what the Mavs said on the way out when they kicked his butt out of the door. But what do you make of his offseason so far? Because from everything I've read and everything I've seen, he's pretty much hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, look, like he's an offensive specimen, and that didn't really change when he came to the Lakers. He was coming off an injury, which I'm sure he wasn't really as active. It was like a little bit of elephant in the room, right? I mean, they kicked him while he was down on the way out in Dallas. It's when you come to the Lakers, things are magnified. The way they went out in the first round of the playoffs, of course, they're going to point out to the conditioning of Luka, and even JJ said it without saying it. And so Luka wants his 400 and something million in 3 years, right? He doesn't want the same thing to happen that happened in Dallas to happen here in LA. I don't think it will, but he has to make sure of that. And so we'll see, right? I mean, I love what he's doing. He obviously looks great. I think it's going to put a little pep in his step, maybe get him a little bit kind of better, when he's kind of shuffling his feet defensively, things like that. And we'll just see. Hopefully it pays off. I'm sure it will from an injury standpoint and things like that. But yeah, so far so good as far as like his physique, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think he had to sit down probably after offseason, just realize what had transpired. Obviously, he got traded from his team he was drafted from. There's a lot of trash talk kind of going around, and the way the Lakers season ended, And I think he just realized that if he doesn't take this seriously, all this can go away, right? You were traded. Like nobody, 99.5% of people would have never thought Luka could have been traded from Dallas Mavs without him knowing or requesting a trade. So I think that's a real reality check for him. He even said that some of those, fat shaming pretty much motivated him. And I think he had to say, do I want to continue to play this career like the way I've been yo-yoing back and forth? Or do I want to take this serious and really take the offseason to kind of change some habits? Because we don't know how it's going to be during the season. We know what the offseason brings. It's a lot easier to get in shape during the offseason than it is kind of during the season or to maintain some of those habits. So that's the next step. Does this translate throughout the season? Or do we see some fluctuation on what his habits are, right? So I think he's made the mentality. He's made the mental checklist. And I think he's ready to prove to everybody that he is one of the baddest players in this game right now. And if he's been giving people 28, 8, and 8, the way he looked before, I mean, to me, there's no doubt he's a front runner for MVP this season.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's definitely top 2 or 3. And I hope we see that MVP type level performance, because that means the Lakers are going to be doing well. And so, yeah, I mean, you pointed it out, like sometimes when you're in the off season, and not to say it's easy. I mean, it's not easy to get in tip top shape, but season rolls along, right? It's a long season. You're on the road a lot. You're at hotels, you're probably doing team dinners, whatever, all the stuff that they do. And so, that'll be interesting to see, how that holds up. I know the last couple seasons, his bulkness actually kind of helped him on the offensive side, right? Just people were bouncing off him and things like that. So that'll be interesting to see if he can still kind of, utilize that bully ball, I guess you could say, which has kind of turned to be part of his game as of late. But regardless, I think we'd all rather have a super in shape Luka Doncic versus, kind of what we saw there a little bit towards the end of the season and in the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's a little bit more athletic like he was his first couple of years in the league, where he was actually dunking. And you can, if you go look at film, he was pretty damn athletic for his first couple of years. And then he started using more of that bully ball, using his body, which is still a great skill to have too, right? Because that creates a different type of game, especially in the half court setting. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does the rest of the throughout the season. But I look forward to it. He signed an extension. He's got a new body. I think this is going to be a much different season. I also want to see what you guys think in the comments. So if you're on YouTube right now or Twitter, please comment. Let us know what you think about Luka signing an extension, Luka getting into shape, or anything else that you got comments on. But I see our man, Cam Miller. What up, Cam? What up, Cam? I know it's been a minute, so I'm glad to see you out there and hope all is well. All right, so let's get into our next topic, which would be LeBron and everything that's kind of transpired right now. It's, I wouldn't say LeBron is MIA, but I did not see him at Luka's press conference. I did not see him at the Backstreet Boys concert that Luka and the team went to. Do you make anything out of that, or is that just nothing?
Well, I think things are finally settling down a bit. I mean, LeBron is gosh, unless something drastic happens, right? He's not going to be traded. I mean, since we've spoke last, I think it's even come out. Rich Paul said that's never been like formally discussed, or but I do know LeBron. I know he's never going to admit it, but he's definitely been in his feels a little bit. I mean, we've talked about it. He is not the number one option at this time, and he's not the number one priority. And it's like to me, it's not a terrible thing. Like LeBron's, man, he's done all that he's could. He's been phenomenal, probably top 2 player ever. And so that will never ever be taken away from him. But I don't know. Like if it was a couple years ago, I still feel LeBron's a type that probably wouldn't be at that presser. Definitely not a Backstreet Boys concert. But I think it's just because of everything that's happened this summer. Every little thing he does, like, you know, we're kind of like on it. But in my opinion, come October 21st, I believe that's the opening. That's when the regular season starts. I think he will be there and ready to go. Anything to it, you think, other than, you know, this is most likely perhaps his last season with the Lakers?
Yeah, I think he's settled down from all the kind of drama over the last month, right? I don't think he's going anywhere if I had to put money on it right now.
Yeah.
For this year, obviously. But I do see, like, he didn't want to, in one way, be a bearing to Luka's decision, right? I think he's always said it, and you've seen it. He said it in interviews that he wanted Luka to make his own decision on what he wanted to do with either signing with the Lakers or being a free agent next year, whatever that was going to be. So I think that now Luka has signed. You might see something in the next couple days or a week where LeBron commits a little bit more. Obviously, he commits to this year. And if this is his last year, this is his last year. You might hear that. Or he commits to playing another year or two with the Lakers, because we know we got 3 years with Luka. So now he knows that the Lakers have Luka for the next 3 years. And I can't imagine he plays longer than that. Right. So, and you saw Rob Pelinka talk about basically, like, he would love for LeBron to retire a Laker if that were to happen. Like, he can't guarantee it. He doesn't know where his head's at, but would he want LeBron to retire as a Laker? Yes. And I think if you think about you have 3 seasons, I think that's plenty for him to play. I can't imagine him playing like 27 seasons or whatever it would be. I don't even want to say it, because I'm like, he's about to be his 23rd season. And if he played 3 more with Luka, who you going to do? Whatever, dude. Like, we're not going to 27 seasons, right? Come on.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably going to be a little bit more settled now as far as what he talks about with the Lakers. And we're going to see him in a Lakers uniform on October 21st.
Yeah, I think while Rob says we would love to see him retire, I think there's a caveat there, and I think it's like, you got to work with us in terms of like the contract situation. You know, like, I just can't see like, hey, we're gonna play this season, and then we're gonna give you a 2-year, like, whatever the max is for 2 years. And I don't know. I think that's why it's, again, I think it's like that elephant in the room type of thing. Like, would they love to have LeBron? I'm sure they would. You know, like, as a number 2, still, like, I mean, he was all NBA last year, right? And so, I mean, you'd be dumb, which I know, like, a lot of Laker fans, I'm not calling you dumb, but I know a lot of them kind of want to end this LeBron era. But I mean, in terms of what he does on the floor, I mean, he still puts up not only numbers, but he's effective. And so, yeah, it's I think it's just one of these things he's going to play this year. And if he wants to stay in LA, or at least on the Lakers, like, it's going to look different for sure. The way the contract, his contract works, is going to be, but we'll see. But yeah, as we both talked about, I anticipate him there October 21st, obviously well before that in training camp. But, hopefully we can put this kind of noise to bed, so we can have an amazing, 25-26 campaign.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine after this year where, he signs next year with the Lakers for a 2-year,
$100 million,
$120-something million contract for his 24th and 25th season in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how long he's going to play, but it just sounds crazy. But I do think that his mind is probably changing a little bit now that Luka has actually committed to the Lakers. I think he wanted to see the commitment out of Luka and the commitment out of the Lakers organization to winning now. And they do have in my opinion, they do have a championship contending team with LeBron on it right now.
Yeah, I think he definitely wanted to see what Luka did, because I think the big question mark was like the I mean, I'm pretty sure we kind of figured he was going to sign the extension, but just what the extension was. And so now that we know, he knows, everybody knows he's with us the next 3 seasons. He's not going anywhere these next 3 years. And again, I assume LeBron will not be playing in 3 years. And so it's like, hey, I'm either going to stay on the Lakers and play aside Luka, and maybe we'll get another guy or two. Or obviously, he moves on, but it's going to all depend on how they do next year. That's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's how he looks next year. I mean, obviously you see LeBron working out right now. If you follow his stories on Instagram, he's getting up at 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning and committing to the grind. So you could tell he took the time off, which he need to. Every NBA player needs that. And he's back on his grind for the next month and a half until training camp, I'm sure. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes and what his mindset's like. But more than likely it's going to be with the Lakers, and it's going to be a pretty damn good season.
Yeah, I'm hoping for big things. I mean, we know the West is going to be daunting. It's going to be competitive. It's not going to be easy, but got to get one of those top 3 seeds somehow, some way.
For sure. All right, so let's get into a little injury topic here with Joel Embiid. As we know, he had surgery in April for his left knee meniscus, which is more likely they did a meniscectomy, which is basically removal of the meniscus, based on kind of the timeline when they were going to kind of update people on that. And the thing about this is in 2017, he had the same knee. He had surgery then, which they didn't do repair at that time, which is always concerning because that was when he was younger. And usually if you can do the repair earlier, it's better for long-term health versus just kind of cutting the meniscus and cutting pieces of it, which gives you less space there, more risk of the meniscus, and also just more risk for like arthritis and things like that as well. So there's been some concerns around the league that his health is not the best, and the Sixers are kind of concerned about him moving forward. What are your thoughts kind of on that, as well as Paul George having surgery on his knee for a meniscus issue? Well, they didn't say meniscus, but they said an arthroscopic procedure, which is likely had to do with some sort of cartilage, meniscus, something in that realm. What do you think about the Sixers kind of moving forward with that?
Man, we've talked a lot about the wide open East, and one of the teams that was kind of a dark horse because of injuries. If they stayed healthy, this could be Philly's year to get there, but we're already seeing some bad signs. And so it's unfortunate, man. I mean, there's those guys right through the history of the NBA, like a Brandon Roy comes to mind. Derrick Rose, once he hurt his knee, where it's kind of a degenerate issue, and you just come back, you hurt it again, you come back, you hurt it again. And so you start thinking about the player like long term, right? Like, is he going to be able to, walk when he's 50 years old, right? And that's sort of the things that some of these guys got to think about. They're obviously already set up for, their great grandkids are already set up for life. So, that's obviously not the issue. But when you hit that peak, right, MVP, it's hard to come back down. It's hard. He hasn't gotten to a finals yet, hasn't gotten to a conference finals yet. And so he obviously wants to give it a go. But he's a big guy too. Paul George is just just been very unhealthy the last couple of years. So it's going to be tough, man. I think one more kind of real big issue. I don't know. Philly's going to have a big decision to make, and so is Joel Embiid. But I hope somehow, some way. I mean, it's tough because you can't go through a season where it's like, oh, he's just never going to play. I guess you can, but like play back to backs. He's only going to play about 40, 50 games, have him rested for the playoffs and all that. But I mean, it's not ideal, obviously.
Yeah, not ideal at all. And, he's 7'1", 280. And that's always kind of been a concern because he's just a bigger guy. And he came into the league with a foot issue, right? Which is usually one of the worst things for a big guy. missed the whole first season, and then but came back and looked like a pretty damn talented player and won an MVP. But he's played through some of these injuries, right? Like when he tore his meniscus in the playoffs, he played through it. And he's played through it during the season before. And I think some of those things that he's played through these injuries has made it worse and has kind of made his long-term health at risk. And I saw something about the timeline because they were supposed to reevaluate him about right now, and they're uncertain about the timeline. Joel said he's uncertain about his timeline. He's only going to come back when he's ready. And then he said it's always a business too. And meaning that the Sixers would want him back as soon as possible. But for his long-term health, bringing him back soon is probably not going to be ideal. So this might be an instance where he's not fully ready at training camp. He's not fully ready at the beginning of the season. And then it's just trying to get him to a point where he's not out just playing and then 2 games later being sore in the knee, right? Like he's got to be at a point where he can run up and down the court, have no issues for multiple weeks, probably at least a month or 2 of that before he can really play in the NBA right now.
It's tough. So you have your team that wants to for you to honor, your contract, right? Come back. And then you have like the fan base that's like, come on, man, like you're just always injured, you're right, like you got to just suck it up, whatever. And as you mentioned, he did it a couple of times and it's probably hurt him. And then you have like an ultra competitive player that wants to be out there, I'm sure, but now he's starting to think like, if I get out there too soon, it's a long season. If week 3 or 4, I tweak it again and I'm out 2 months or whatever, it could be all she wrote. And so I was looking at his, just kind of his career, and I'm assuming the year that he played 68 games was the year that he won MVP. That's the most he's played, 68, it looks like. He's played 66 once, 68 another year, and then every other year it's been, well, no, I guess he's early on 63, 64, but I mean, you get the point, right? So you're always going to miss about 15 games, with him. And so it's probably better for it to be the first 15 versus him come back too early and, miss a bunch of games throughout. But that'll be the tug of war that's going to happen for the Sixers and Joel Embiid. Yeah,
I mean, he's never played 70 plus games in a season, right? So he's missing 12 a year at least. And it's concerning for the Sixers because you got him and Paul George, right? Joel's 31, Paul George is 35, and then you got a young superstar kind of in the making and Tyrone Maxey. And it's like, hey, here you go. You got these other guys that you're supposed to be your trio, and it's really just all you at this point because he'll be the healthiest of them and the youngest. And they have some good young players, Philly. I like who they drafted. And I like, McCain from last year. So they have these young, talented players, but you don't know what type of team you're going to get if you don't have your superstar or superstars, right? So if you don't know the health of them, you can't really determine how you're going to be as a team. So let's just hope that they can get healthy, especially early on in the season, that they take all the time they need to actually be able to play a full season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man.
All right, Eric. We got some news for you guys that, we find it's kind of a big announcement to make here on the Hoops Rehab show. But we will be starting in pretty soon covering football. And just football injuries, football news, football drama, as well as basketball. But we're excited to go into this football season to actually cover some of that stuff too. Because I don't know about you guys, but we're NBA guys, obviously, through and through. But we also are huge NFL football fans. So we want to kind of get into that as well. We'll have shows that kind of follow, like a Sunday night show, which will be mainly covering the football injuries of that day and just kind of what's going on in the week, especially when it comes to like fantasy purposes as well. So what are your thoughts, Eric? And are you excited for this next venture?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hoops is a big passion, and we've been talking a lot about it. And so, but I just think it's just a smart decision to talk NFL. I mean, we know, how big and bad football is. We love it. It does, start real soon here. We obviously know the preseason started, and it does clash with the NBA season for the most part too. But we feel that the things that we talk about on the basketball side, we can incorporate that on the football side with sprinkling in your analysis on injuries, a little bit of fantasy, and just overall kind of how teams are doing. Look, just very similar to what we're doing here. We plan to do a little bit of a rebranding, which, we're kind of gotta put our heads together and working on that. But yeah, super excited. We're going to do one show, we believe. And it's going to just be, centered around those two sports. And, looking to see where it takes us. And yeah, like I said, really, really excited.
Yeah, in all reality, we want it to be the show that you guys can go to, like when there's football news, when there's basketball news, and we'll kind of have it in each show. And then obviously when we're in football season and there's no basketball really, right? It's more football. And then when we're in heavy basketball with no football, it's mainly basketball. But we also wanted to be that blend of show where it's like, hey, what was the news today, right? Was it football? Was it basketball related? And we'll cover both of them, right? So we want to be able to be that source for you all, and we're excited about it. We're both fantasy nerds. We're fantasy pros. We've been playing since high school. So, I mean, if we're going to date ourselves, this is 20 plus years of fantasy football. And I wanted to at least bring some of my expertise as far as the physical therapy side with some of the injuries and knowing what the actually injury means and some of the coach talk that they'll always say, especially in football. There's a lot of that. I mean, there's always that in basketball, but I feel like football, it's like you have no idea what the injury really is because they don't want to talk about it at all.
Yeah, definitely a little more tight-lipped, but yeah, we're definitely veterans. There's probably gonna be a week that we're talking, and the doc and I are gonna be playing each other in fantasy, maybe some gamesmanship there too, and so it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun, and super excited, especially as you mentioned, to get into the intricacies of the injuries that we hope that don't happen, but we know inevitably will. And kind of break down what that will do for your team, because I know most of you have a team, and so that's what we look forward to doing and breaking that all down.
Yes, sir. Super excited. I see Cam Miller said, "Yeah, let's go."
That's right.
So I'm glad, Cam. I'm glad that you like the choice there. But yeah, man, we're excited. We're just big sports junkies in general. So we will be all up in football and all up in basketball and ready to talk about the latest news in all those sports.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. We'll obviously kind of more to come, right? We'll let you guys know when that's going to all start. But as I mentioned, we already are in preseason. So it'll be happening very, very soon. Since basketball, other than this Luka signing, I mean, it's probably going to slow down these next couple months until training camp. And so, as the doc said, I anticipate a little bit more football talk than basketball, unless, of course, something big happens. And then it's going to be really on and cracking when we get to talk about both in a couple months here. So that's going to be pretty awesome.
Yep. So you guys look forward to some rebranding. We'll have some news out there. We're going to send it to you guys whenever we make the official announcement. The name will probably be a little similar to what we got right now, but we're going to let you guys know as soon as we officially launch it. But we're excited and we're looking forward to the challenge there. So
yes, sir.
We'll be keeping our regular schedule during this off season right now for about 3 times a week. We're probably looking at the Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So if you want to mark that on your calendars, barring some changes with certain days, but we're going to at least have about 3 episodes a week kind of moving forward here. So Eric, unless you got anything, we're going to sign off tonight.
Yeah, no, that's it. Super exciting news. Happy to be back with everyone. And it's time to hit the trenches for us too. Vacation's over, baby. We're back. So looking forward to putting on a show for the rest of this year for you guys.
Yes, sir. We are back. All right. So for the Hoops Rehab show, we are out tonight and we're glad to be back and look forward to the future. Peace out, guys.
Peace.